I'll tell you who's upset. It's the Collingwood fan base after the performance today against GWS. Well done to the Giants, 52-point winners. But this is a big story, and I think particularly from the Collingwood side, this is a club who has invested heavily, has recruited heavily into the now, and they serve up that effort in round one will be very disappointing. It's going to be a significant story throughout the week, Joey. You had a close look at the midfield battle, and in particular Finn Callaghan. We know that St Kilda had backed up the truck to try and recruit him. What did you make of his first up performance tonight?
We'll get to the Pies in a moment, but Saints fans look away now because what Finn Callaghan dished up today was off the charts.
Yep.
It was incredible. In his fourth year now, and he's had to take the reins. No Tom Green, ready to go. He's committed his future to the footy club. He played one of the great games. It was by far his highest-rated game of his 3 and a bit years of footy. The way that he was able to break away from the Collingwood midfield time and time again, it was impressive. He gave them Finburn. It was off the charts what he was able to do. He was running amok. He did everything. His metres gained, his score involvements, his clearance work. It was as impressive a performance as we've seen. We'll touch on Will Day, and rightly so, a bit later on. But I thought this kid's game was unbelievable, and he's really set the tone for the year.
King, am I overstating things to say that's some Chris Judd burst? He's a legend of the AFL, but did you see a bit of Chris Judd explosiveness? Am I overcooking it?
A little bit, yeah. a little bit.
Where's the support?
I'm trying to help you out. I don't see it at all. I think it's great to see a player change his game, to be able to go in and take the game from inside to outside, and it really exploded. The concern for me, Joey, is watch it from the flip side of the coin. Have a look at the Collingwood midfielders and the lack of speed, the lack of intent, the poor attitude to put the clamps on the GWS Giants once they broke from stoppage. Alarm bells for me. Just watch the black and white jumpers, how quickly they're gone. Look, Jones on the run, we'll show him later on. You've got Callaghan bursting through. Where are they? Well, Nick goes flat out one way, not so much the other. Now, he's impacted, obviously, by cramps, but I'm not sure the cramp had an effect defensively at all. Look at that. Josh gives up. They stroll through. Look at the numbers getting forward. I felt sorry for the Collingwood back six at times. That's just way too easy.
Yep.
And if this is them, right, if this is their midfield, an ageing midfield, ageing players on the flanks, maybe we start to see the first signs of the lack of intent, the lack of attitude to defend. Real concern for me. Team that's had success. Sometimes players that have had success, they don't want to pay the ultimate price again. And maybe we're seeing that. It's very early, no need for grand statements, but if we see it again in the next couple of weeks, then I'll tell you what, we'll be saying they need to make wholesale change to this starting set of midfielders.
Well, I want to pick you up because you said Nick Dacos, and for most of us, he's the best player in the competition. Does he have a licence to be able to go one way? Because he's got such offensive talents. We'll see Clayton Oliver do it a little bit. Or would the demand be that he has to run back as hard as he's running forward? Because, we're talking about the genuine number one player in the game here.
Could have shown 15 edits between Scotty Pendlebury, Nick Dacos, Josh Dacos. They just didn't have the same desire to go the other way. Now, these guys are high-level talent. So we're not going to sit here on the back of 4 quarters of footy, one impacted by severe cramps. So we'll give them a mulligan on this one, but they're on high alert. If this is Collingwood in 2025, don't worry about September.
And is it an age thing? We've talked about the Dad's Army, the last dance.
Yeah, well, it's whether some players are capable of having the leg speed to chase and defend or want the want. And it was a combination of both. There are times that some players just didn't have the leg speed in that midfield. You mentioned Nick Dacos. He is a lot quicker going that way than sometimes he was defending today, and the others need to help out more. So it is a watch early on because they were disappointing, the Pies.
What about Sam Taylor? So he would have had nightmares all summer about that marking contest with Joe Danaher. Remember, he kicked the 2 blinders from the boundary line. Sam Taylor comes out in his first performance today, Joe. He looked like Glenn Jakovich.
Yeah, he wants to regain. He wants to regain the crown as the best defender in the competition. He's unfortunately missed out on All-Australian selection because he's missed 7 games and 8 games in his last couple of years. But this guy is the best defender in the game. Make no mistake. His ability to turn defence into offence, another 8 intercept marks, 12 intercepts. If he stays fit and healthy, they look completely different, the Giants. And he's got that crown right now. I'm the best defender in the comp.
Call it. Do you think you get any Brownlow votes for today's game?
Well, he kicked a goal, which was only the second time in his career. Would he? Still unlikely he gets a Brownlow vote.
What about the Giants' pressure? They were the top pressure team in the AFL last season. The Orange Tsunami, we know a lot about that. How did it rate today?
Yeah, and in particular the third quarter I thought was a turning point because Collingwood had plenty of opportunities in that first half and they missed so many goals and they really butchered their opportunities. And then the third quarter, they dominated territory. I think at one stage it was 14 inside 50s to 3. They had the game on their terms. But in the end, they relented once Giants ramped up the pressure. They were over 200 in this third quarter. They got after the Pies. And in the end, they broke Collingwood's will. They broke their spirit midway through this third quarter when they were chipping away. Look at this, the desperation in their back 50.
This is their one wood.
This is their go. And they got numbers back and they just gave nothing. And eventually, I think Giants went down the other end. Darcy Jones might have got the goal and that was it. Broke the game open and they couldn't go with them. So credit to the Giants because they were under pressure. And as we said, and we've touched on it with Collingwood, they just didn't handle it. They just didn't go for as long as the Giants. Probably, weren't able to, but whether it was physically, because they looked like a lot of players cramping and a lot tired, or whether mentally they weren't prepared to go the distance, but that was the factor in this game.
It's great vision, Joey. If the Giants are going to be factoring anywhere deep into the finals, and that pressure's got to be right up, and they've set the tone for the first game of the season. Now, you were running around, Kingy, with a helmet on your head up and down the corridors before, because you love this man and you are 1A on the Darcy Jones hype train.
As a matter of fact, I gave that helmet to a little kid at a shop last year. I want it back. So if that kid's watching, please send it back. Look, his speed broke the game apart. I mean, it was looking like Collingwood were going to mount a comeback. They were getting inside 50 opportunities, and then as soon as this little fella said, OK, I'm going to take a few risks. I'm going to run with the ball. I'm going to provide overlap there. Takes the game from inside to out. The game now is about how effective your handballing chains are. It's impossible to beat teams with foot skills, really, at the minute. Every team's pretty well organised behind the ball. But if you can get a running chain started and the overlap going, this guy is the prototype half-forward that you want. And I know there would have been some slows. We had a good chat upstairs about the recruiting model. How small's too small to put a line through someone. But if you can move like this, he makes great decisions. He's a good finisher and just runs all day. He stood out. His fitness stood out today in a game that was really starting to flag.
He was outstanding. You were strong on Caleb Sarong too, in terms of that height and stature as well. And you're recruiting for Fremantle as well, Joey. Now, it was a big opportunity for some of the Giants' talls. Without Jakey Stringer, Jesse Hogan, Jake Riccardi was out suspended. And it was a big opportunity for a former #1 draft pick here.
Yeah, I've come to today to really have a close look at what Aaron Cadman had done in the off-season. Had he gone and become the big frame, the big body, and ready to take this forward line by storm. Great opportunity without those players you just mentioned, and really didn't fire a shot. And people say, oh, you're being hard on a young key position forward. But he had so many opportunities today where if he was just clean, if he was one touch, if he was one clunk, he just dropped opportunity after opportunity. It was a really disappointing game. Now, if people say, why are you showing this? This guy's got all the talent in the world. I just hope it doesn't just slip into this. I mean, last year he was doing some tagging. You know, it was a comical situations where Jesse Hogan would run around and he'd be tagging Jesse Hogan's opponent just to get Jesse an advantage. I hope he's more than that.
But that's not his best role, is it? So he needs to be running off Stringer and Hogan. He needs to be more of a running player. The Giants like him more as a Jeremy Cameron getting up the field. Like as you point out, he doesn't have the frame to be taking those sort of contested marks.
He had a game today. He took one mark. He had 5 touches. He had no involvement in the game.
He'd be disappointed.
The game went on around him. Today was the day to announce himself. And we saw Cal Shadir do that last year when he was given the keys to the forward line. Hey, have a crack, see how you go.
Logan Morris.
I just wanted, exactly right. I just wanted this kid to do it today and he didn't. So it's another one we're just putting on watch in the next few weeks.